Welcome to Fanboy Critic, where we go watch new movies out in theaters and give you our review, both the good and the bad. I'm Joe Mortiz and I'll be your fanboy.
And I'm Sam McClure, I'll be your critic. This week on Fanboy and Critic, we went to go see A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. It is directed by Marielle Heller and starring Matthew Rhys, Tom Hanks, and Chris Cooper. And if you don't know what this movie is about, it is loosely based on the Esquire article by Tom Junod, and it is about his interaction with Fred Rogers and how it's changed his life. Marielle Heller, I actually haven't seen any of her work before, but Tom Hanks, I've seen some of his stuff. He's kind of popular. What do you think they did well portraying Mr. Rogers in this movie?
I think they did a spectacular job portraying Fred Rogers, or Mr. Rogers as we all know him. I think Tom Hanks knocked it out the park. I mean, it was almost scary how good he was and how similar he was to Mr. Rogers. Like, even like the lines he was saying was like, I can imagine Mr. Rogers talking that way. I think that was really good. I think it was written really well. I think it was shot really well. I loved how it was shot and like how they had little transaction scenes of like, I guess the figures they use in Mr. Rogers, or...
Yeah, all the master shots were basically like that style that you see of the opening of Mr. Rogers, where they're kind of, let's just say, imperfect models.
Yeah, so I thought that was really cool and really nostalgic. But yeah, I thought the story was just kind of, I feel like, really cliche, but it was really good. It was really good. I thought it was really good. I mean, yeah, I thought Tom Hanks was a really good Mr. Rogers. I thought the story was really good. It just shows how good Mr. Rogers touched everyone's lives.
There was a lot of great things going on in this movie. Tom Hanks definitely did a good job portraying Mr. Rogers. Matthew Rhys killed it, as always. Chris Cooper had a surprisingly large role. I didn't think he was going to be in it. He was almost had as much screen time as Tom Hanks.
Okay, true.
That's not what I was expecting going into this. But the things I don't think really worked for me was that they portrayed this movie in all the advertising as this is about Fred Rogers, and then we were introduced through the lens of this guy. But really, it was all about Lloyd, who is loosely based off Tom Junod, who wrote the Esquire article. And it's literally, it's Lloyd's movie, and then Mr. Rogers comes in for bits and pieces and sort of helps us understand what's happening to Lloyd. And so really, Fred Rogers is used more as an instrument in this movie and not his own character. And I think that was really kind of one-dimensional. Like we've all seen Mr. Rogers on screen, and we only see that side of him where he's very slow-paced and has a high-pitched voice, and he's always saying the exact right thing and helping us express our emotions. I wanted to see something human from him. I wanted to see not necessarily a flaw, but just like that it's not all the things that we see on TV. That's what I was hoping for and expecting out of this movie. And we really got a very one-note Fred Rogers. And not that I dislike that, who he is on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I was expecting to see something a little bit more realistic as a portrayal, to see, there are different facets of him than what we saw on his show, but that's all we got. And honestly, there wasn't very much of him in this movie. It was mostly Matthew Rhys on screen, which was great.
Yeah.
He did a great job. It was a good story, very simple, and I think Marielle Heller did a good job directing this whole thing, choosing the right shots, making her vision clear. I think all that was great. The way they portrayed it to us was not the way it ended up on screen from the trailer to the movie, and that's my big criticism of this. You said all the good things, I said all the bad things. How do you really feel? What's your rating on this one?
With this, I'm actually at it amazed. I think Tom Hanks he did a really good job with the acting. I thought all the actors were really good. And this movie just brought out a lot of emotions, which I really liked. I think you were laughing at one point and you just felt really sad at one point. And I think that's what a movie should be. It's a lot of emotions and a lot of good acting. I'm at it amazed. Tom Hanks, you killed it.
I agree with you. There was a lot of moments that I felt some deep emotions that I haven't felt in movie theaters in a while. I'm just gonna be at a like.
Okay.
I like it, but I don't think I'm ever gonna really have the urge to see it again. I felt like this was it. It made me feel those feelings, but the story is so repetitive of many stories that we've already seen. All right, fanboys and critics, thanks for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit that little bell so you can see more of our reviews and different videos that we put out. And we'll see you next week for Knives Out.